Tennis players, who sweat 5 times more than marathon runners, often mention retirement when they reach their 30s. The fatigue accumulated from intense exercise usually dissipates within 7 hours, but as one ages, the recovery speed gradually slows down. It's no exaggeration to say that for professionals who must participate in competitions at least twice a month, recovery from fatigue is crucial. Alcaraz recently mentioned, "The ATP schedule is too grueling. It needs to change." Even Alcaraz, who just turned 21, talks about fatigue. I wonder how players over 30 feel. There is a 32-year-old player who recently announced his retirement. This player also mentioned the limitations of his physical condition at over 30 years old, saying, "I am not the same as before." Although he hasn't achieved remarkable records or received much attention, he is an excellent player deserving of respect for his human triumph. He is none other than Diego Schwartzman. He is the Argentine tennis player following in the footsteps of Del Potro. He is also a representative short player in the tennis world. He is only 170 centimeters tall, which is his height in shoes, but he actually appears to be in the mid-160s. In terms of height, there are hardly any tennis players on the tour with such a small height of 170 centimeters. As the average height of players in tennis continues to rise, it is becoming increasingly rare for players in the low 170s to achieve respectable results. Yet it is still impressive that one has reached the top 10 with a highest rank of 8th. Due to his short stature, he is referred to as Shorty or Shortsman. How did the shortest player, Schwartzman, manage to reach the top world ranking, even reaching 8th place? He has a record of defeating Marin Cilic and Alexander Zverev at the US Open, as well as Kevin Anderson and Andy Murray at the French Open. This is a record of victories against players who are as much as 20 centimeters taller than him. At 170 centimeter tall, it's no surprise that a short player like him has a poor serve. There is an interesting statistic that he has more double faults 1 through 37 than aces 781 in his career. Generally, even players who struggle with their serve have fewer double faults than aces, but Schwartzman's serving game clearly shows that he is at the bottom tier of the tour. It shows how disadvantageous being short is in tennis. Schwartzman must have needed something to cover the disadvantages of being short. Aside from his serve, he is particularly quick, agile, clever, makes few errors, and doesn't lack power in his strokes. As a small-sized underdog who plays tennis cleanly yet tenaciously, he is also a player with almost no weaknesses. On days when the game is going well, the level of returns that extend beautifully is incredibly high, making it a pleasure to watch this player. Additionally, it's not just about executing strokes. Well, they also place drop shots exceptionally well. In terms of drop shots, their level is comparable to those competing for the top spots on the tour. His serve is at the tour level, but conversely, his return is at the highest level, with a career return game win rate higher than that of Novak Djokovic or Andy Murray. Schwartzman chose to cover his weaknesses by constantly finding gaps within rallies based on diligence, focusing more on rallying than on strong strokes to minimize errors. He had to run more than bigger players and adopted a strategy of gradually building up as a player who brings more variation. In fact, it will be difficult to see players who are short in stature in the future. Typically, tennis is started around the age of 5, but these days, with DNA testing, it is possible to predict maximum height. So if a child is statistically likely to be short, they may not start playing tennis. However, this is only referring to the world of professionals. For us, recreational players, we don't have to worry much about height, so we can focus solely on enjoying tennis. Here, if recreational players are on the shorter side, having just one advantage that can cover the disadvantage is enough for tennis. If someone is tall, it is also necessary to develop a style of tennis that can effectively utilize that advantage. Covering weaknesses and maximizing strengths can both be important as they signify progress in tennis. So, how can one develop their own strengths? What are your signature moves? In fact, it may not be easy for our club members to fully utilize their strengths in doubles. Everyone has their own strengths. Whether it's serving well, having a good serve, excelling at forehand strokes from the baseline, being good at lobbing, or something else, there are players who have strengths in consistently getting the ball over or have good smashes. However, in doubles, there are often cases where players cannot utilize each other's strengths. It is also common to force someone who is strong in strokes to play volleys, or conversely to induce volleys from someone who is weak in that area, or even to criticize someone for not emphasizing their strong side. A true master creates an environment where each player can fully utilize their strengths to play the game wisely. It is necessary to provide solid defensive coverage from the baseline for someone who is good at volleys, or to coordinate strong serves to make volleys easier. In fact, while it is important to quickly recognize the opponent's weaknesses, what is even more crucial is to have a good understanding of your partner's strengths. Adapting your playstyle according to your partner is the true mark of a master and a clever way to navigate the game. First, if you secure an advantage in your strengths, you can approach the game with psychological stability and confidence. On the contrary, if you concede points from your strengths, you will feel psychologically unstable and end up in a disadvantageous situation. So, it's about pushing the game forward by playing well and hiding your weaknesses as much as possible. This might be exactly what we can learn from Schwartzman. Simply put, it means to always get the ball over. How can I always get the ball over? It is about pursuing the most statistically safe means and the safest actions. The most common movement in tennis is the forehand stroke. There is a strong reason why it should account for more than 70%. Rather than hitting hard, the focus should be on accurately making contact with the racket. To achieve this, it is essential to have the basics a split step, keeping an eye on the ball until the end, a proper finish, and your own safest takeback. If you repeat this infinitely, your own strengths will emerge from within. These days, it's true that it's hard to have self-confidence in everyday life. Even in a court, you need to fully showcase your strengths and boost your confidence. Have confidence! Haha, let's try to do this endlessly for 3 months. Please unsubscribe.